Can we do one more round of applause, please? And what's beautiful is to see so many of the other female founders in the audience that are watching all of the panels, and that's really beautiful to see.
So we are joined by this brilliant female brand building panel. We have ELLSWORTH from POPPI. We have Rachel Liverman from GLOWBAR. And we have SHIZU from APOTHEKARY. So I love this panel because you guys are very different women, right? We have POPPI, this amazingly viral brand that has now this year took out a Super Bowl ad. Congratulations.
Like a year in a row.
GLOWBAR, which is an interesting brick and mortar organic brand building this year, right? And then SHIZU with APOTHEKARY. I don't know whether or not people understand that you come from this financial Wall Street background. And well, exactly. So what I'd love to be able to do is kind of kick it off and get each of you to kind of tell a little bit of your background and your story. Why don't we start with Allison?
Awesome. Well, can we have a shout out that it's International Women's Day? There's nothing that I would rather be doing than this with you women. So, I'm so excited. My name is Allison. I'm the founder of POPPI Prebiotic Soda. Started it in my kitchen a few years ago because I had some health issues. I Googled my symptoms and I discovered nutrition and apple cider vinegar. The problem is it didn't taste good. So I went to my kitchen and I created POPPI. It was just such a beautiful passion project for me to create this, and I was so obsessed that I wanted to share it with everybody. So after that, we went to the farmer's market, onto Shark Tank, and got a deal. And we launched POPPI in March of 2020, right when COVID hit, which was at the time devastating, but what was beautiful is everyone was thinking about their health and wellness for the first time ever, worldwide. It forced us to be digital first from the beginning, and we've seen the success. We have billions of views on TikTok, we've done multiple Super Bowl ads, we are the #1 soda on Amazon, one of the fastest growing beverages in the history of beverage, and we are so blessed to be able to share our mission to revolutionize soda for the next generation.
Rachel, you also go 14 million views on TikTok. I mean, you have built quite a social following. So, tell us about the way in which you're kind of organically branded.
Yeah, so Allison is my muse on social. We are tiny compared to POPPI, but GLOWBAR has grown organically. So for everyone that doesn't know who GLOWBAR is, we are the largest facial membership in the world. We have 20 locations on the East Coast where we pioneered the first 30-minute facial. So I found facials to be super annoying, long, expensive, I didn't know who to trust, and I took my 3 generations of skincare know-how, my grandmother pioneered skincare in the US, and started GLOWBAR. And so the way you grow a brick-and-mortar business is through community and through organic growth. So what I always say is our product is our marketing channel. Like our best marketing channel is making sure that everyone that walks out of our doors, their skin is glowing. And when they are, they go to brunch with their friends, mainly women, and they say, oh my God, your skin looks amazing, what are you doing? And they're like, I went to GLOWBAR yesterday. And then 3 women, 4 women, and book facials. And that's how GLOWBAR has grown into the brand.
So what I found interesting here, first, you could talk a little bit about your interesting background. SHIZU was a Goldman Sachs investor and trader, quit her job on Wall Street, and then went to a banana farm.
That sounds about right. Very unlinear of startups and that whole journey. So I was born and raised on a farm in Vancouver. My parents were both immigrants from Japan. So a lot of what we do is really connecting nature to medicine. But my story was, of course, my Asian immigrant parents. Please get a stable job. If anyone resonates with this, become a doctor, become an accountant, become something very stable. I chose finance. So I cold emailed my boss, and I got a job on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs as a prop trader, and I thought it was like the dream.
Oh,
and then
thank
when you
you.
realize you finally have the dream, it was kind of just like I hit a wall. And after 2 years, I was like burnt out, drinking alcohol every night, waking up and jacking myself up with Poppy. I didn't have Poppy or Glow in my life at GLOWBAR at the time, so I quit and I had my own Eat, Pray, Love journey. Moved to Mozambique, where I lived for about a year on a banana farm volunteering, helping entrepreneurs raise capital. And then I started my first business when I was 22. I'm 36 now, and I've been now having 3 businesses and on my 3rd one with Apothekary. Really what we do with Apothekary is bridging nature's medicine. And the real aha moment was walking through the aisles of CVS and Walgreens. You see everything in opaque bottles, pills, white, labels, and you don't recognize anything. So really what we do is bridge Eastern medicine and make that modern and approachable using an education-first marketing strategy.
Like it's an alternative to drinking.
Yeah, we really took the non-alcohol format, and nobody wants to carry a big bottle of fake wine to a bar. So we kind of created these tincture formats that were very high efficacy and stress relief herbs, and then combined that with the use of taking that to social hour, combined it with Poppy. We've done a ton of giveaways with Poppy where we see customers just dosing mocktails. And so we've really taken, I think, that mocktail trend to a new place.
What I love about the differences here is that you 3 have been able to build these insanely successful businesses, but using very, very different strategies, right? At Poppy, you lean very much into social media, viral memes, social influencer moments. Again, with Rachel, you talked about the fact that you have organic, you've been having pop-up installations. I understand you guys do an ice cream truck as a GLOWBAR pop-up. And Shizu, you have been rebranding recently to redesign your aesthetic, and then also using data analytics in order to understand consumer behaviors. Could each of you talk about the trials and tribulations in terms of what worked and what didn't?
Me first?
Yeah, let's start.
So as far as data, okay, so the beauty of what we've always done at Poppy is I don't have a traditional marketing background, so I just used to throw stuff at the wall and kind of see what worked. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs start out that way. There was a day when it was just me and my husband and 2 other employees for the first, basically year. And the beauty of that is what you don't know can really work for you. So for me, we've always been all about brand awareness and just getting as many people to hear our story as possible. And what that really leads to is it makes us a brand and not a product. So I'm not constantly out there screaming this is what it is and this is how it can do that, or I'm just do it Nike, right? I'm really big. I'm emotionally connecting with our consumer. We're out there having fun. We're creating TikToks. We're doing BTS. We're just emotionally telling people a story. So I would say even almost for the first 2 years, we didn't measure a lot of things. We, I think, never did a Google ad, right? We've never tracked an ROI for the first few years. Now Poppy's a little bit more sophisticated. We have a great team and we have a great platform in place. But I think for the early years, really what built the brand was just focusing on pure brand awareness. And that was our #1 KPI that we always focused on. And honestly, to this day, that is still our #1 goal. Get as many hands and as many eyes on Poppy as possible versus trying to tie it back to a sell.
But you guys have had, for example, the vending machine moment, right? What did you learn from that moment in terms of, the hiccups?
Yeah, so we did a Super Bowl ad this year, and at the same time, we decided to send a bunch of vending machines out to creators. And what we thought was fun, a soda company sending soda vending machines to people for Super Bowl weekend, which Super Bowl is the #1 most consumed moment for soda. We were just oh, this is really cute. And then we were excited to have these in our arsenal to reuse over for the next, 3 to 5 years. Well, we kind of got some backlash online from it. And people didn't get it. They felt it was excessive. There's nothing new in influencer marketing, right? And gifting and trying to do something disruptive. But what we learned from that moment, honestly, is that you have to be able to change with the times, right? And be aware of your surroundings and listen to your community. And so from that, we were excited to learn afterwards. We ended up sending them out to communities and teacher lounges and made it more core to the community. And now we're placing them all over the fire aid in LA and donating. And we were doing a lot of that stuff. We weren't talking about it, right? I've not been on brag about what you're doing. But I do think it's important for the community to see that we are doing those things. So that was a really good lesson. And then I think creators, right? I think like to the point where we're not a startup anymore. And we are a big brand now. And so we kind of can't forget where we came from. So I think it's a good learning of have a little bit more of a balance in your marketing approach, and don't forget who you are.
Both of you also, can I get Shizu to chime in?
Yeah, so in 2023 we did a rebrand, and I joke, but I don't really joke about this. I actually don't know if we'd be alive right now if we didn't do the rebrand, because there are so many moments where we hope things work out, and we hope that, oh, they're gonna buy again. But we noticed like people's retention patterns weren't strong. We were 100% powders business at the time. And then we saw during COVID, everybody was getting into powders. Like, you could literally put powders in a jar and sell it. And we had so many copycats. So we had to really take a step back to say, okay, where's our competitive advantage? Where can Apothekary really stay different? And so with the rebrand, we took a real approach to taking a step back from food as medicine to nature as medicine, and really connecting back to my roots as a Japanese immigrant, and really highlighting the wellness strategies of Japan that everyone loves so much. So, we talk a lot more about things like forest bathing and kintsugi and other softer elements of the brand that you can't really quantify, but the data hasn't lied in terms of the rebrand being super successful. Our sales now are 90% tinctures, and then we're launching in like 2,000 stores this year. So I think it's you might need to take a step back in order to take 10 steps forward. It's like probably my biggest learning lesson.
You guys have learned a strategy in which to harness data and analytics in a really sophisticated way between when exactly the touch points are with your products, between the store, digital habits. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Our team came from an e-commerce and tech background primarily. I actually feel like I need to take a page from Allison and Rachel's book on brand, because we take such an analytical approach in that, like, our growth marketing, our retention marketing, everything in our LTVs and our KPIs are super profitable. They're perfect. But as soon as you start to wanting to test new things again, it's like we're doing a new business again in many ways. And so, like, we did a Japan trip. We have one coming up with about 2,000 people on the wait list. But again, that's like an early indication of an experiential side of the business that doesn't have a ton of data, but we have enough leading indicators that say, okay, this is something. And so we take that and kind of take that to the next stage to go to the next 5 years of business that the consumer's wanting, that they don't know yet.
Congratulations, you're estimating on 35 million revenue this year.
Thank you. More than that, thank you.
Rachel, we talked a little bit about like how consumer habits are changing, design, aesthetics. People are looking at being much more clean and streamlined in the way that brands are presented, their design. I think it's fascinating that a 30-minute facial now is the biggest trend in that industry, rather than it being regular salon. There being the luxury wellness brands that we know. I think that GLOWBAR is testament to the fact that the consumer trends are changing. Talk a little bit about how you even were able to put your hand on, like, that was going to be a trend.
Yeah, I think every founder starts a business from a place of what they need in themselves. And so we're a 5-year-old business. We opened our first location 6 months before COVID, which was a whole other conversation. But I didn't have time to spend going to get a facial as consistently as I knew I should. And the consumer was busy, and there was always focus on what brings human beings joy. And it didn't bring us joy to go sit in a spa for 3 hours on a Saturday when we have big lives, we have families, we have partners, we have other passions, we like to exercise. And so the consumer behavior was that they got facials once a year when they had a gift card or they were on vacation. And I was like, we need to be taking care of our skin every 4 weeks. And how do we make that easy for the consumer to experience? And so that's where the 30-minute came in. And we just created, first to market 30-minute facial that's highly effective, clinical grade, which was also very important. So we had to combine the need for professional results with quick. And that was like the ultimate challenge that we've done very, very well. But the consumer is more discerning than ever. Skin talk is insane. And I learn things every single day. I'm like beef tallow and you know, sperm. Like, I mean, I can't even, right? It's endless, and I can barely keep up with it, and I'm an esthetician, and I own a skincare business. So, but they're discerning, and they know. And so as a brand, you also have to be really authentic, transparent, and do what you say you're going to do. And that goes back to like why we focus on the treatment so much. I'm promising you a 30-minute facial that is clinical results and the best experience you're ever going to have, and every single one needs to hit that mark, or else we won't get that or get it from it.
And the design aesthetic of the actual GLOWBAR themselves were very intentional.
Yes. So brick and mortar is a whole another business. If anyone's in brick and mortar retail, you should talk. It's quite a grind. Brick and mortar is really expensive. Each location can cost $500,000 to like $2 million. I won't tell you how much ours costs because my publicist is here and she'll be mad at me if I say things like that. But we kept them very inexpensive. We invested where the consumer was going to have an experience. So everything is kind of just like whitewashed, and we focus on where the consumer is going to really spend their time in our studios to keep costs as low as possible. But what I say at GLOWBAR to everyone in every department is simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. I think that's Coco Chanel, by the way, which is really cheesy. Sorry. But it is true. And so keep things simple. Don't overthink them. Don't go creating these like really expensive moments in each store for the like customers to take pictures. Like everyone got into that, like with all due respect, like Glossy is like one of my favorite brands, but like they would really invest in their stores making those like UGC moments. It worked really well for them. For GLOWBAR, it wasn't their strategic decision, and so we just kept it simple.
I wanted to touch upon, as we have a few minutes left, I wanted to touch upon like what are some brands that you guys are looking around you to the left and the right to are seeing some of their brand strategies that you're wanting to put in?
For me, the most iconic and clean is Kim K. Skims. I love that they are a multi-billion-dollar company doing disruptive entrepreneurial marketing. And by that I mean, like White Lotus goes viral and a month later they have a campaign with the star in it. Like it's unbelievable. Big companies do not move that quick, you guys. They are able to move with the speed of culture like no other big brand can do. And it just shows when a woman's empowered, we can do anything.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. I'm not just saying this because she's sitting to my right, but like POPPI is like the gold standard on like social and like what you've been able to do and holding authentic to like you. And I think like I'm a very small creator, but like you inspire me to like just get on the camera and just film something. And I think
Don't need makeup on to film.
right, but like
I mean,
I
some
do.
of that all we do.
Yeah, literally. But no, I think it's like really amazing, and I think it's just like you've been able to also show up in those cultural moments in a really big way, and you like move pretty nimble. And I think like GLOWBAR's a really better job. But that's like I'm always looking to you guys in the other questions.
I have myself.
I think on my end, you know, I do a little bit of angel investing, and some of the brands that I put some money into, I just love learning from them. Like I love Becca from Fish Wife, Jane from Fly by Jane, the founders of Dom Dom Skincare, which is a new Japanese-based skincare brand that's expanding in Sephora. But it's been so fascinating to see like the food marketing, the beauty marketing, just everyone is so different, but at the core of it, it's like community-based, social driven. So I think for me, it's been a lot of education. I'm not in that generation, but to our conversation earlier, I've got to get in front of that camera, and I think that's like mine to do this year. And I've been so inspired by so many founders that really do, you know, the behind the scenes of the computer work, but also the behind the scenes of the marketing work, which is a lot.
I mean, like exactly that lessons learned. What is, if you had to put it in one key nutshell, what is the secret behind your brand?
I think for us, it's always been community. It's like the 3 C's that I always talk about. So it's like we're community first, we move at the speed of culture, and then how can we be disruptive creatively? Not how everyone else has done the same playbook before, but if you can kind of keep those 3 buckets in, and is what we do is like we'll do our marketing calendar, we start planning it a year ahead of time, and we kind of get the tentpoles of about 80% of what we're going to do for the year. And then we leave about 20% for cultural relevant moments that we need need to be able to move in either 24 hours, a week, 4 weeks, right? And I think if you continue to stay nimble as you become a big brand, it really gives you an edge over other people because they get really risk averse and they have to check with legal. When I hear that, I'm like, I'm just talking to the wrong person. So I go around it. But I think like for me, it's the 3 C's: community, culture, and creative.
For GLOWBAR, it's sticking to simplicity, like keeping things simple, not overthinking everything. I think like when you start overthinking and trying to be like someone else, you can really steer your brand wrong. So we stay authentic to ourselves, and we actually have 3 E's. So where everything that we do has to fit into efficiency, so the 30-minute facial, efficacy, clinical results, and education. We're a skincare brand. Yes, there's skin talk, but we are the trusted source for skincare. And so we stick to our 3 E's, keep it simple, and stay true to ourselves.
I think for me, it's probably 2 things. Yeah, I was gonna say feeling is healing. And the reason I say that was because I think for us, you know, everything that we do is to really support the consumer and how stress shows in their bodies. And with our content and emails and everything we do, we want to strike an emotion. And I think that's like, especially with AI coming out so rapidly fast, it's one of those things that I tell my team all the time, like, no, this isn't good. Like, we have to strike an emotion. Let's just take a step back, slow down if we have to, but intention matters much more than just throwing things out there. At least for us. And then I think the second piece is really just not following all the trends. I think we've been able to dodge some trends over the last 3 years that I was like, oh, this is kind of exciting. I'm going to trademark that early on. And then a year later, I'm like, oh, I don't need that domain anymore. It's like, it was an early indicator that could have been something, but the consumer has fast moved on. So it's really important to know what's secular and what's cyclical and the difference between the two.
With 1 minute left, when I would love for you to start off. You, in terms of a personal level, have such an interesting story from being a person who decided to throw your entire career at 20-something away. If someone was deciding that they wanted to do the same exact thing, what advice then would you have given your personal self back then? You're going to start from scratch, and what you know now?
I think for me, and this is something that we don't talk a lot about in our society, is death. And the reason I bring that up is it's the one thing that is all in common with all of us, and we tend to neglect it, we don't talk about it, there's no support for it. But the closer I felt that I kept that in mind, the larger I lived. And so I live more now in my eulogy of life versus my resume life. And I think that's like a very important distinction that people held at a younger age to make really vastly different decisions.
Yeah, I used to think about that. That's amazing. The only reason why I've been successful is that I've asked for help. And I actually didn't start asking for help from others until I was 20 years old. I'm almost 40. I turned 40 this year. I know I don't look at it. Yeah. But, because of GLOWBAR. But no, I turned 40 this year, and really, like, when I started asking for help, the world unlocked for me. And I think for women especially, do not pretend that you know how to do things or that you know what to do in every moment. Say you don't know, and people love to help people. They really do. It gives them endorphins. And so that's like my advice to any woman, especially that I talk to, is just to say you need help with something, and it will unlock so much.
For me, when I created POPPI, there were other sodas, and I didn't know what a TAM was. I didn't know, anything about marketing, and it's so interesting because 5 years ago in the grocery store, there was no category for functional pop. There was 0. So in 5 years, we as a category were able to build something that did not exist 5 years ago. And competition is good, right, you guys? So like, you want other people to. If you're the lone person doing what you're doing, it's a way harder road, right? So I'm so excited. We have a modern soda set in the grocery stores now that we've coined, and we've worked with our retailers, and it didn't exist. So I always say, like, if there's something else out there, just do it better. And don't focus on your competition. Focus on your brand and what you're doing, and you'll be different.
On that note, thank you, ladies, for joining us.